Welcome everybody to this first parallel session of the Academic Libraries North Conference. Before we get started, I'm just going to run through some housekeeping. If you have questions throughout this session, please add them to the Q&A tab next to the chat box on here below. No questions can be taken verbally in the same way as we did in the keynote. This whole session is being recorded. If you wish to, you can turn captions on yourselves by clicking the CC button at the bottom of the stream window. We ask all delegates to abide by the Code of Conduct, which we access via the delegate brochure and also is on our website, and there are links from the announcements as well, so you can have a look at that. And now I'm going to hand over to the first of our speakers. So we have 3 lightning talks in this session, and the first of our speakers are Sophie, Holmes and Laura Fox from Lancaster University, who are talking about welcoming all into the Lancaster University library community. Over to you.
Thank you. I'll just start sharing the presentation. Okay. Our library vision sets us on the path to being a people-focused library that brings communities together and sits at the heart of Lancaster. Being a campus university has at times left us feeling a little remote from our local community. So the first half of our presentation will therefore discuss how we've actively sought to build connections with members of the public and local groups to share knowledge, space and ideas between us. And then my colleague Laura will then speak about the networks we've built with students through book displays and various events and the development of our leisure reading collection. So the library is often said to be the hub of campus for our staff and students, but we also aim to maximise the impact of our library and the reach of campus by making ourselves relevant and welcoming to the local community. Our library vision building has always been open to the public, and until this year we had paid membership schemes in place that allowed external members to join and loan books for a cost. So that was £30 per year for alumni and £60 for all of their external borrowers. We're proud to say that towards the start of this year, however, we started offering library membership for free through our new community card scheme. So anybody over 16 can register for community membership. All prospective members need to do is complete our registration form, either in person or online, and then collect their card. And the card allows members to borrow up to 6 books at a time. The free membership scheme aligns with our library vision and the overall university strategy, both of which place community engagement as a core aim. By encouraging non-staff and students to use the library, we aim to demystify the university and the academic world for local residents and also broaden the use of the library by diverse communities. As part of our efforts to bring the local community and the university community together, we've also been working to build partnerships with groups and organisations from in and around Lancaster. For example, in 2021, we started working with Lancaster Black History Group, a grassroots group of local residents working to fight racism through education. In November, we hosted the group Slavery Family Trees Conference in our exhibition and events area in the library. So the conference showcased the findings of the group's research into Lancaster's historic links to the transatlantic slave trade. And it also marked the unveiling of the Slavery Family Trees banner, which highlights some of the local people, places and objects that are explored as part of the project. This banner was made by the Lancaster Sewing Café, another local group that advocates for regenerative textile practices, and it was displayed by the library entrance, as you can see, as part of a small exhibition showcasing information about the project to library visitors. Since connecting with the Lancaster Sewing Café through the conference, we've also hosted their mending station sessions in our events area. At the mending stations, students are invited to bring in any items of clothing in need of attention, and Sewing Café members provide them with the knowledge, skills and equipment to repair their items. It's been wonderful to see students coming in with bags full of textiles on mending station days, and we're grateful to the local community for sharing their expertise with our students through their common interest in sustainability. In November 2021, we launched our community collection. This is a collection of print books aimed at local people, groups and schools, and sits within its own small area of the library. The first part of the collection emerged from our collaboration with Lancaster Black History Group, and it's designed to support their work on the Slavery Family Trees project. So the collection currently consists of books on slavery, colonialism and empire, as well as local history books that highlight Lancaster's historic link as one of the largest slave trading ports in England. The plan is for the community collection to expand over time as we continue to develop links with different local groups and projects. For example, we're currently purchasing books on sewing, repairing and sustainability in the fashion industry to support Lancaster Sewing Cafe's Mending Station initiative. I'll now hand you over to Laura.
Thank you, Sophie. Here at Lancaster, we are fortunate enough to have a dedicated head of engagement, Leslie English. Part of Leslie's role is to liaise with partners, departments and student groups across campus to identify university EDI initiatives, which the library can then reflect and support. An example of this is Mental Health Awareness Week, which was held at the beginning of May. Events were taking place across campus, but the library was the main hub of activity, focusing on the national theme of loneliness as set out by the Mental Health Foundation. Our efforts included a prominent display of wellbeing books, a happy to chat bench, a resource guide featuring self-care books, and a pop-up library e-screen featuring all the events happening around campus. We are acutely aware of our diverse student population and are passionate about giving each and every student a sense of belonging. To this end, we recognise and celebrate festivals, for example, Eid, Lunar New Year and Diwali, and create high-profile displays and resource guides whilst working with the relevant student societies. The input of student societies is invaluable as they choose the films we screen and the books we purchase and subsequently display. The celebration of such events has two immediate benefits. The first being giving a connection to home for the students who would normally be celebrating with their family and friends. And secondly, so students from all backgrounds can develop their understanding and awareness of a wide range of cultures. In our new extension, much thought was given as to how best to utilise the space. On the ground floor, we designed an exhibition space where we can stage our own events, for example, the Library Festival held last September, or make the space available to other groups for activities such as yoga, Tai Chi and exam stress workshops. We have also shown films in the exhibition space which tie in with our current initiatives, or on occasions just for relaxation, such as the snowman at Christmas time. Future plans include showing films from Box of Broadcasts and Canopy during the vacation, which will provide recreation to students and an opportunity to meet new people. We are very fortunate that due to the recent refurbishment and new extension, the building has spaces that lend themselves to making the library a vibrant and inclusive community where students have a sense of belonging and well-being. But it is not just about the building. Colleagues are absolutely committed to providing an environment where everybody is represented, heard, and their contribution felt. Our leisure reading collection was first conceived over 10 years ago and comprised of staff donations, selected titles from existing stock, and books purchased from a small fund from the Alumni Society. Its location was less than desirable in an uninviting dark corner on the first floor and was considered anything but core to the library vision. To our surprise, it was, however, very popular with both students and staff. In 2016, the library was refurbished, and this presented us with an opportunity to reimagine and develop the leisure reading collection. It was by this time clear to us that the collection provided students with a valuable break from academic activity, thereby contributing to their overall well-being. Our response to its popularity was by making its location more visible with improved signage, the purchase of display stands and further investment in stock. It was always our intention that the content of the collection was to be student-led, and we actively encourage students to suggest titles via our request a resource form on the library website or by engaging with staff. There is also an option on the form to suggest purchases that would diversify our main collection. Our leisure reading collection aims to reflect our diverse student and staff population, and we highlight particular areas of the collection with the use of display stands which are refreshed and changed on a regular basis. We have also created an online LibGuide which introduces the collection and highlights new titles that we have purchased. Our leisure reading collection of today bears little resemblance to the one of 10 years ago. It now occupies a prime position on the ground floor, and we have recently invested in bespoke shelving and furniture. The subsections of Wellbeing and Study Skills sit comfortably within the collection and are featured on display stands at appropriate times in the academic calendar. We have also had considerable engagement with Mandarin-speaking students and have encouraged them to donate books for our thriving Mandarin collection. A postgraduate has very kindly worked with us, translating the Mandarin bibliographic information in order for the titles to be discoverable on our catalogue once launched. For many students, our leisure reading area, with its comfy seating, has become an oasis of calm amidst what at times can be a pressurised environment. We are continually thinking of new ways to promote the collection and further engage students, and have already had author events and book groups, and we are looking towards having poetry readings in the future. And for whom a trip to the library isn't possible, or their preference is e-format, we now subscribe to Overdrive, a database which contains a seemingly endless selection of ebooks and audiobooks, including non-English material. This will expand our range of content available to our international student population. What was once an uninspiring collection of random titles has become a destination collection and absolutely core to what we offer here at Lancaster. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophie and Laura. That was fantastic. We're going to go on to our next presentation now. We're going to have questions for everybody at the end. So if we go to our next presentation, which is Vic Brown and Katherine Swainston from Teesside University, talking about the Period Dignity campaign.
Sorry, just get the presentation up. Can you see that, Kath?
I can see it, but not in presentation form.
All right, okay. Is it playing now?
It's just in like edit view rather than presentation view, but if you're struggling, I'm sure it's fine for everybody.
Okay. Kath, can you see that? Kath, sorry.
Yes, yeah. It might, if you press the slideshow, it might play from slideshow, Vic.
Yeah, I've got the slideshow on.
Okay, that's maybe there's a delay.
Right. Sorry. So I'm Vic from Teesside University, and this is Dr. Kath Swainston from Newcastle University. So we started a period dignity campaign in order to eliminate period poverty within the Northeast and within our university. So we basically wanted to, the aim of it was to reduce financial constraints on period products placed on students, to improve attendance and attainment by doing that, and also improve physical and mental health for students. And then we were looking for long term to reduce stigma around periods in general, and making it a much more conversational point for people, and making it a much more accepted point across society. So it's not just about something that females should deal with. It's basically something that everybody should be aware of, and in general just to look to improve health education as well. So this came about due to because of the pandemic, and due to the poverty increase around periods. As you can see by the information on the slide, that the number of young people aged 13 to 18 who were struggling to attend education due to periods massively increased, and there was 100% desire for free access to period products within the northeast in the UK. It was quite big across the whole of the UK, but in the northeast especially, there was a high demand for it, and periods being the biggest reason why a lot of like I said, young people aged 13 to 18 miss out on education more than going on holidays or bereavement, which is quite shocking. And then going on, so when we did this, we wanted to do it as a pilot study, so our findings would basically support the campaign and strengthen the reasoning behind why we needed this so desperately within our university. So I pass on to you, Kath.
Thanks, Vic. I don't think the slides are moving along. Maybe if you come out of slideshow, perhaps. Then we'll be able to. Okay. Yeah, so that's moved them along, but it's gone on to slide 8. So perhaps if you move it to the results, I'll take it from there. So essentially, what we did was we did a feasibility and acceptability study to see whether students would be interested in us providing free period products. And what we found was that 89% actually said they would access these products, but they had a preference for pads and tampons. 84% reported attendance and academic performance was affected by periods. And while these kind of general statistics and general descriptives are interesting, I think for us, what was the most profound were actually the free text comments that were reported within the survey. We did an analysis on those free text comments, and we found that there were 5 overarching themes that students' responses fitted into. So firstly, it reduced stress and worry, improved health. Students found that the provision of free products caused less financial constraints. They felt that the provision of free sanitary products actually made them feel a bit more supported and cared for by the university, and it meant that they didn't have to leave campus for products. Vic, can you click on the next slide for me, please?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. So the acceptability of products was perceived to reduce embarrassment, stigma, stress and worry, and students reported that it would allow them to remain on campus and that they felt cared for by the university. We can see a few of this feedback, a few of the comments that we got from students there about equal opportunities and less stigma. I've had a panic attack whenever I unexpectedly had my period at work and I didn't have a pad, had the embarrassment of asking colleagues around the office. I feel less stigmatized and more likely to be honest about changes in attendance due to my period, as it would feel more normalized. And indeed, one of the things that was very common across participants' responses was this notion of embarrassment and feeling that they were trying to sneak sanitary products out of their bag for themselves and for others during lessons. But actually, So I think there's a lot of work to be done around destigmatizing periods still, so that we can reduce that. But they felt that the provision of free products would support them in working towards that. Some of our students frequently discussed periods arriving unexpectedly and being unable to afford or access sanitary products. And this was a barrier to fully engaging with university life. Next slide, please, Vic.
Yeah.
And there's you, Vic, on the slide with one of our dignity boxes at the university. Vic, do you want to say a little bit about improving equality?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously when we started this campaign, it was to improve equality, because, you know, while period poverty still existed, there was never going to be, you know, an equal playing field with regards to equality for those who menstruate. So that was the biggest part of it, for why we started the campaign in the first place. And then obviously the more we looked into it and we saw the reduction of the loss of education for these people, and then obviously the impact that had on their mental health and physical health as well, especially for a lot of young people who were using homemade period products instead and putting their bodies in physical harm. It was actually quite scary, the numbers and the reports that we saw around that. So yeah, this is what we were like, that was our overall goal, to sort of end that. And we found that since we started the campaign, it's just increased positivity on campus. It's meant that students can stay on campus for longer, especially within the library facilities, because a lot of our toilets within the library now provide the free sanitary products, and students just feel more relaxed and able to get on with their studies more than they could before. So, and then moving forward as well, we were also looking to do more work around the education side, and we want to look at the other end of the scale as well, so perimenopause, menopause, and then do more work around endometriosis as well, because the company that we use, TOTM, actually sponsor Endometriosis UK and do a lot of work with them, so they want to bring that to the university too, so we can keep increasing that level of education around period care and around period dignity, and just make more people aware of what other people go through, in order to promote kindness and support and understanding and compassion as well. So yeah, that's our campaign. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Kath?
Yeah, I think it's worth saying that the university have supported the campaign. We've seen a huge raft of support from staff and students across the campus, and the campaign has now been supported. The university have agreed to fund free sanitary products now to cover the next couple of years, which is a huge success.
That's it. Thank you for listening.
Fantastic. Thank you, Vic and Katherine. That was fantastic. And now on to our final lightning talk of this session, which is Sarah Pymer from the University of Hull, talking about being a diversity ally.
Thanks, Zelda. Let me just share my screen. Hey, there we go. Hello, everybody. My name is Sarah, and I'm an archivist at the University of Hull, but I'm speaking today as one of ARA's diversity allies. For anyone who isn't familiar with ARA, it's the Archives and Records Association UK and Ireland, and it's the professional body.
Sarah, just to stop you, I can only see part of your screen at the moment. I can't see the full screen. I don't know if that's the case for everybody.
Can you see it now?
That's perfect. Sorry
okay, sorry about that. Sorry, I'm having some tech interesting things today. The Archives and Records Association UK and Ireland, which is the professional body for record keepers, which includes archivists, records managers, conservators, and paraprofessionals. So I will give you a bit of background about why the Allies came into being in the first place. So we've got some figures here about the archives profession. It's majority white, heterosexual, female, middle-aged and middle class. These figures come from a 2015 survey carried out for SILIP and ARA, showing the not great levels of diversity reported within the profession at that time. If you're interested in the report, the QR code there will take you directly to it if you want to see it. So we hope this picture has started to shift a bit by now. We have a lot of talented younger people joining the profession at the moment, but I do suspect it's still kind of broadly the case. So over the last few years, diversity and inclusion has really become a big subject for many of us. We want and we need to have professionals and paraprofessionals from a more diverse range of backgrounds who bring different skills and experiences. We need our collections, resources and events to appeal to a much wider section of the public. And we need to diversify our collections to more fully reflect the society that we live in. And at the ARA conference in Glasgow in 2018, delegates devised the Glasgow Manifesto, which called for action on these points. Unfortunately, progress after that was a little bit slow, which is a bit of a pattern sometimes in archives. We know we need to take action. A lot of us want to take action. But the reality for many services is that we're so busy trying to help our existing researchers and really just to keep our doors open and our lights on, that working for equality, diversity and inclusion doesn't always get the high priority that it deserves. But then 2020 happened and suddenly archivists weren't able to open our doors to researchers anymore. And then, of course, in the same summer, we had the Black Lives Matter movement, we had statues falling, and a renewed sense from a wider society that it was time to take stock of our heritage and, by extension, our sector. And this is where the Diversity Allies come in. In July 2020, ARA put out a call for people, both ARA members and non-members, with an interest in equality and inclusion in the archives and record keeping sector to volunteer as diversity allies. So the original plan was for the group to undertake a self-directed course to increase our knowledge and confidence in EDI, but it quickly became clear that we wanted to do more. So together we developed terms of reference for the group and our 3 goals, which are here to help drive the highest professional and ethical standards in relation to diversity and inclusion within ARA and across the wider sector, to identify, develop and promote professional training and skills relating to diversity and inclusion, and to provide a names point of contact for every ARA nation and region to ensure lines of communication remain open. So we do have a dedicated page on the ARA website as well, and the QR code on the slide will take you to it if that's something that you want to have a look at. So we deliberately called ourselves allies because we're not able to represent the full range of human experiences within the group, and because we want to acknowledge that our members don't necessarily have marginalised identities. We have members who are from Black and Asian backgrounds, members with disabilities, members who are LGBTQ+, and we also have members who are none of those things. And we're all allies of each other, and we try to be allies for our current and potential staff, researchers and depositors, and particularly those whose identities are marginalised. We're also not experts, we're practicing archivists and record keepers who are interested in diversifying and decolonising archives and records. We're trying to take our own steps in our own institutions, but we're not necessarily trying to tell anyone else what they should be doing. We're trying to amplify good practice without being very prescriptive about what that needs to be. We try to support each other and anyone within the profession who's trying to make archives more inclusive places. So we're happy to offer things like Zoom calls or meetings to colleagues to talk through diversity work and share the knowledge that we've gained. And we're working on setting up networks of professionals to share specific skills and knowledge. We also offer help to colleagues who are struggling to find support for work on equality, diversity and inclusion within their institutions. We represent the Diversity Allies on ARA's regional committees so that diversity always has a place in regional events and planning. And group members have participated in discussions with the National Archives about adding equality, diversity and inclusion into the Archives accreditation standard. And we're also feeding into the ARA board's work on a toolkit for EDI in archives. The group is member-led, which means that although we're officially constituted as an ARA group, our activities aren't directed by the ARA board, and we have a lot of freedom to decide what activities to undertake. So we decided to create 5 working groups to allow people to contribute to the things which interest them most, and I will quickly run through them now. So awareness campaigns aims to highlight one-off and ongoing awareness events which have some relevance to record keepers to help archives plan related activities and social media campaigns. Working with marginalised communities aims to help archivists gain the skills and confidence to approach groups which are underrepresented amongst our users and our collections. This group is working on a toolkit, particularly aimed at archivists who are interested in diversifying user groups and collections. We are aware that many marginalised groups have good reasons for not interacting with established archives, and they may not want to deposit material with us, but it is still possible to form partnerships which are productive, for example, through sharing knowledge on how groups can keep their own records, or inviting communities to interact with existing collections which intersect with their identities or experiences. The accessibility group was formed for allies with an interest in accessibility issues. Accessibility covers a huge spectrum from issues of physical access to archive spaces, to career barriers faced by archivists with disabilities, to questions of how to make digitised material available online to users of assistive technology. The group focuses on issues which affect record keeping specifically, as there's already a great deal of information available on general accessibility issues, but not so much focusing specifically on our sector. So we've begun a small network of archivists working with records of people with disabilities, and we hope to expand that as time goes on. This group works very closely with ARA's Archives for Learning and Education section, which has done a lot of really good work on using archives to engage with young people with a wide range of disabilities, neurodiversity, and learning differences. So the QR code on this slide will take you to ARA's Accessible Learning Toolkit, which was produced by the Archives for Learning and Education section, which has some really great tips and case studies for using archives with a range of young people. The External Resources Working Group has a remit to provide a collection of resources for the ARA website, which relate to equality, diversity and inclusion and the record keeping profession. We're doing this by collating links to resources, and the list is available online, and the QR code there will take you directly to it if you want to have a look at that. Resources we include are websites, publications, podcasts, videos, courses, documents, basically anything that we have found which we think is useful. It's a curated list, which means that a member of the group has assessed everything on it and thinks it might be helpful to record keepers. Resources range really broadly from scholarly articles specifically about record keeping to much broader discussions of problematic language. The inclusive cataloguing group's goals are to initiate and continue conversations within the sector about making archive catalogues more inclusive, and to feed into the development of an ARA toolkit for archivists working on more inclusive cataloguing, and developing a network of colleagues actively working on inclusive cataloguing. So we held a workshop last year with a group of colleagues who are working in this area, and we have plans for another workshop later this year. There's a lot of people kind of working in this area at the moment, and we are not trying to kind of take over or take ownership of it, but we're trying to add to it and use ARA's resources to continue the conversations that are already taking place. This group is currently working on a series of blog posts which will share some of the members' work on developing more inclusive cataloguing practices, including issues like how to surface records or obscured histories, problematic terminology and how to deal with it, and how to support internal advocacy, particularly in relation to finding resources to undertake work and the need for detailed catalogue records. So that is a whistle-stop tour of the work of the Diversity Allies. So thank you very much for listening. And if you'd like to join us or talk to us, please do get in touch.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. That was fantastic. And thank you to all three of our talks this afternoon, isn't it? We've got some time now for some questions, and they have come over into our chat. Thank you, everybody. I will just see what we've got. So the first question that we've got is from Jimmy Mitchell to Sophie and Laura, who asks, we have a similar setup but have been struggling to engage external groups. Do you have any tips for this?
Yeah, so originally the way we connected with the Lancaster Black History Group was through the sociology department at the university, as one of the members of the sociology department was a member of the group as well. And then they connected with a couple of our faculty librarians who were working on kind of diversifying our collection and decolonising the library at the time. So we connected with the group through a different department at the university, and then we met the Sewing Café members at the Slavery Family Trees conference. And then the idea with the mending station and the Sewing Café was that they would set up the mending stations at different places around Lancaster, and then hopefully the groups would kind of carry on themselves. So they were looking for places that they could go to and hold the sessions around Lancaster, and then we were kind of lucky enough to have that space to offer to different groups. And then in terms of getting kind of community members in, so we've sort of opened up lots of our events to community members as well as students. So for example, when we've had reading groups and that kind of thing, like author events, we've opened that up to any members of the public. And we recently had a Pride Open Day in June that was partly aimed at getting community members in. So we were kind of offering community members tours and encouraging them to join as community members. And we had different like LGBT groups from the area taking part in that as well. So I don't know if that gives any tips, but that's kind of how we've made the connections here.
Yeah, excellent. That actually follows on what you said there to our next question, which is, do community card holders have access to any online resources, and do they pay fines?
Yes, thank you for your question. I think that was asked by Tom. Community card holders, no, they do not have access to our online resources, but this is entirely due to licensing restrictions. It's not a decision that we have actively made ourselves. We are able to offer, though, a LibGuide, which they have access to a LibGuide on our website that features a wealth of free online resources that they can tap into. I think also Tom asked about fines. Yeah, we don't actually have any fines in place for any of our members, be they current staff or students, and that is extended to our community members as well. However, if they don't return a book when it's recalled or when they're asked, their account will get blocked. But we do have a 5-week automatic renewal system in place, so that doesn't often happen. Yeah.
Okay. The next question is also for you two, from Alice Harvey, who says, your leisure reading collection is really inspiring. Do you have any tips and advice for getting a leisure reading collection started from scratch, maybe without much support?
Thank you for that question, Alice, and thank you very much for giving us such positive feedback about the leisure reading. As I said in the presentation, we actually started off our leisure reading collection through donations, which might be a good starting point. Now, the donations came from staff and students, not just library staff, staff for university staff. So perhaps putting something out over social media, asking for donations to just kickstart a leisure reading collection might be an idea. We also got, I think it was £1,000 initially from the alumni department to help our collection along. So it might be worth engaging with them and seeing if there's any money on the table from that direction. We'd be delighted for anybody who's interested in our leisure reading collection to come and have a look, and Sophie and I would be very, very happy to spend some time talking about its evolution.
Fantastic, thank you. Our next question is for Vic. Katherine Koosman asks, thanks for talking about the Period Dignity campaign. I wonder if you had any negative feedback, say from people who feel that period products should not be provided for free. She says, I hope not, but perhaps.
Yeah, and thanks for that. So, yeah, out of everyone that participated in the study, we had 99.3% said yes, they wanted to see free period products within our facilities. So there was only one person that actually answered no to it. They didn't really give any negative comments. They just said that they just didn't feel that they should be there, with not really much reasoning. But that's the only negativity I've seen. The rest has been overwhelmingly positive. You know, I've been, you know, even when we've talked to people about the campaign and they found out about it, I've been stopped all over the university by staff and students telling me stories about how they struggled with period poverty when they were growing up, and how much this campaign means to them, and how they wanted to get on board and support it as well. So yeah, you know, the hope not comment was great, because it hasn't really been any negativity in that respect.
Yeah, that is good to hear, isn't it? We've got 2 questions now from Helen Loffred, who the first, which is for Sophie and Laura at Lancaster. How do your activities complement / compete with the work of public libraries, and is any of this in partnership?
Yeah, so we don't have any particular partnership with the public libraries at the moment. I know there's been a conversation with the public library, but at the moment there's nothing in place between us. So yeah, can't give any specific details on that.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And then she goes back to Vic to say that this is the sort of campaign that will be run at Leeds Beckett with the Students' Union. Do you work with them?
With the Leeds Beckett SU?
No, sorry, you work with your own Students' Union. Sorry,
oh, with my own SU. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
her institution, it would be run in tandem.
Yeah, so our SU did provide free sanitary products within their toilets, but so we collaborated with them, and now the university supplies the products in their toilets for them, because we expanded it across the whole of the campus. So yeah, we do work alongside our SU. I know that there are other universities that their SUs do these sort of campaigns, but they've struggled to get it across their university as a whole. So it's definitely one that other universities could maybe, you know, learn from our campaign and see that going further, expanding it further, like the Liverpool John Moore University have got it in every single toilet facility across the whole entire campus, and that's what, you know, eventually we would like to aim to do as well.
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? There's a couple more questions for you, Vic. Harvey says, this is such an important campaign. What was the name of the company you used? We're just trying to start a period poverty campaign ourselves. Okay, great.
The company that we used was called TOTM. And if, you know, I'm happy for anyone to take down my email and get in touch if they want support and information about costs and, you know, the logistics behind running the campaign. So yeah, to get in touch with me, I'll quite happily help anyone out.
Lovely, that's great. And then a final question for you, Vic, from Maria Carnegie. Regarding period poverty, have there been any challenges in finding the budget? And is this a university-wide remit or purely the library, which does follow on from that other question that we have?
Yeah, so it's Student Library Services which actually funded the campaign. So it is mainly sort of based around our library, but and campus services. But yeah, we do provide it throughout like most of our main buildings that are used by the students. I think that was answering the question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then with regards to funding, so, you know, the costs weren't actually that much considering. So that's why we did the pilot study, to show the impact, how great the impact would be from the campaign and from putting those free products into the toilets. And when we showed our findings of how this impacted our students and staff in the university, the cost then seemed minor in comparison to the benefits of the campaign. So, but overall, I mean, you know, am I allowed to say the cost? Sorry, yeah, I'm allowed to say the money, aren't I?
Yeah.
So we found that we managed to get the budgeting down to about £5,000 managed to cover us for the year, and that's across 20 toilets facilities within our campus, and that will increase, add another 5 toilet facilities as well onto it for next year. And then we, like Kath pointed out, that we've guaranteed funding for the next couple of years as well. So the campaign's certain to run for the next 3 years overall.
Fantastic. Thank you. And that's the end of our questions now. So thank you to all of our presenters for those presentations, which were all excellent and really, really interesting to hear. As we come to the end of this session, just want to highlight a few things for those of you that are carrying on this afternoon at the conference. Please do visit the lounge where you can network and meet with other delegates, and our sponsor booths where they've got lots of interesting things going on in the booths. And also, if you visit them, you get points. And what do points mean? They mean prizes. So please do visit our sponsor booths. At 5 o'clock today, we have our quiz run by John, which is fantastic. You might find, like me, you can't answer any of the questions, but it's still enjoyable. And next, we've got our gold sponsor presentation from Cortex. Please do go along to that. They will be talking about how they have run e-textbooks at the University of Derby, and they have a colleague who works at the University of Derby Library there talking to us, who should be really interesting and insightful about how they have been working in collaboration with Cortext. Tomorrow we have a full programme, and you can see all of the programme by clicking on the agenda tab. I think I've plugged enough things now. So this session will shortly come to an end, and you'll be thrown out into the wilds of Hubelo, where you can explore all the different areas, the lounge, the sponsor booths, or see what are the next presentations coming up. So as I said, the very next one will be our gold sponsor presentation from Cortext. And then we have our breakout 2 sessions after that with a variety of different presentations that you can pick from. So thanks once again to our presenters who have taken the time to come along and talk to us today. And I'm sure if we could clap, we all would, as that was really, really interesting and insightful talks from those three sets of people. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Zelda.
No problem.